Thanks, Leo. I'm really thrilled to be here. And so we are going to talk about your brain. We all have one. The market for this is everybody on the planet, and the need is immense right now. And so we do think a DAO model is going to be I got a little guest here, it's going to test me out. It's going to be a fantastic approach to disrupting the way things have been funded for brain health and really bring a powerful community of evangelists and brain health enthusiasts together to make a difference. And I'm going to talk about a little bit of the history here as well. So, and we'll get into the Alzheimer's stuff with amyloid. It was a good tee-up from Sebastian. So I want everybody to really just imagine a world where brain aging or brain degeneration is not inevitable. And for this conference of bio-DAO enthusiasts and longevity enthusiasts, it's probably not hard to think that way. But for the general population, if you look at societal norms, our belief, as a society is that it's just inevitable. We're going to decay. And they call these senior moments. Other nomenclature is a brain fart. There's a lot of ways we refer to this, and we just treat it as something that just happens to us. And there's not a thing we can do about it. So the reality is the data kind of supports this, and our bodies are indeed outliving our brains. We have an aging population globally. And it's due to a lot of reasons, modern medicine being one of those, and some lifestyle habit improvements. But as we age, we are seeing it in the statistics, and the statistics around Alzheimer's are just absolutely terrifying as the disease is itself. You're going to see a quadrupling of Alzheimer's diagnoses by 2050, talking about 70, 80 million people globally. Estimated impact on society is over $2 trillion and growing. So this is a problem, and a problem for all of us. I would bet if we surveyed the room, everybody here kind of knows somebody or has had a relative that has dealt with this disease. The other thing that happens is, when you look at your brain, our frontal lobe isn't developed until our mid-20s, early to mid-20s. And the peak of cognitive performance happens in our 40s. And after that, it pretty much falls off a cliff. So you have about 15 years where your brain cognition is either increasing or at peak performance. And we're now living into our 80s, 90s, and even 100s, and we're trying to extend that even further. But our brains aren't keeping up. And I promise I have good news coming, but this isn't all inevitable, but it is an important tee-up because this is the state of the state right now. So we've had, unlike other bio-DAOs, when you look at women's health and longevity and even hair loss, a lot of the reasons for the bio-DAOs for coming to being is, lack of funding for the research. And in brain health, it's different. We've had a lot of funding going into brain health research for decades, and Sebastian alluded to this in terms of his talk is a perfect tee-up for this, because brain health is exactly the problems in the model that Sebastian highlighted. And so we've had billions and billions, tens of billions of dollars going into brain health over many decades. And it has been really limited to a few hypotheses, and unfortunately those funding organizations, all that money, over 90% of it is coming from two organizations, the National Institutes of Aging and the Alzheimer's Association. And that has led to bureaucratic processes, funding of very few hypotheses, lack of imagination, and all sorts of other things. And the amyloid situation with neurodegeneration really isn't that amyloid isn't the problem or the hypothesis isn't correct. It's that we were hitting it way too late. So for decades, we're funding a disease that's far gone. And it's if you treated your brain, or if you treated our heart the way we treated our brain, you'd be testing statins on people with congestive heart failure. And it's just too late. They're not going to solve the problem. And so removing amyloid when what's happened with neurodegeneration is amyloid taus and neuroinflammation causing a massive fire in your brain. When we're addressing these drugs at this stage, there's literally no chance for success. And so for many, many years, until recently, Alzheimer's was the only major disease that didn't have an FDA-approved therapeutic. And today it's the only major disease without an effective FDA-approved therapeutic. And so we got to change the game here. And so the way to look at this is the last 30 years, if the last 30 years is prologue, we're all doomed. Nothing's going to change. We're living longer, and we're all going to end up with neurodegeneration. So something's got to change, and some new model needs to come into being. And so the reason for optimism here is recent data, recent research has come out and has shown. The Lancet Commission just published this, I think, in 2020 or 2021. 12 modifiable lifestyle behaviors can, if you sustainably do these over your lifespan, you can prevent or delay the onset of neurodegeneration of some kind, even if you have genetic markers that put you at higher risk. And so there's a new optimism around this because now, for the first time, we actually have empowerment over our brain health. We can do something about it. And other research has shown through the University of Texas and their Center for Brain Health that cognition cliff and from 40 and beyond is not something that's inevitable. You can do something with brain training and education and habit forming if you follow the research, and your cognition can sustain itself or even increase. And so we're not optimizing the full potential of our brain, even in our best brain years. And past 40, your best brain years can continue to be ahead of you for decades. So this is showing up in survey data where people now, we've had a generation of people that have seen parents and grandparents suffer from neurodegeneration, and they're determined to not let that happen to themselves or their children or grandchildren. And the data coming out is giving them a lot of optimism for this. And I also think we're just at a time where we have big data, AI, miniaturization, and a lot of technologies converging that suit themselves very well to helping us understand the brain better. We know very little about it, so getting patient advocate, I hate to call it patients, just people that care and are caring about their brain health, engaged in brain health and tracking and pulling in data and participating in research, we're going to know much more about the brain, and we're actually going to know what's going on so we can start extending our healthy brain span and keep up with our healthy body span. So we're forming Cerebrum DAO, and the mission for Cerebrum DAO is really just be very disruptive in this field and advance brain health funding. And we want solutions. We want to accelerate solutions and cures to these problems and extend healthy brain span for everybody. And so we do think, 21 Impact Labs, we're working on an app as well that's going to complement the DAO. And these are 21st century challenges that we have, and we need 21st century solutions. So that's where we're going with this. My inspiration for this comes from my youngest daughter. She's now 12. She's featured in this collage here that was developed by her older sister. So that's Ruby May. She was born with Down syndrome 12 years ago, and what I discovered when that happened is the population of people with Down syndrome will have early onset Alzheimer's guaranteed. And the pathology starts in their 30s, and the symptoms will start appearing in their 50s and 60s. And their lifespans have extended into their 60s, but unfortunately the population now will all ultimately pass away from Alzheimer's dementia. And that was, knowing the history of Alzheimer's disease and the funding and the lack of progress, that was frightening, because that's something I didn't want to see happen to her and her siblings as caretakers. And so I kind of forked my career at that point in time and said, I'm going after this because I know software and I know blockchains and crypto assets, and I think there's something here with software and crypto asset networks where we can change the game. And this isn't a Down syndrome problem. I just look at them as canaries in the coal mine. If we can solve it for their condition, we're going to be able to solve it for everybody. And as we see with cognition decline and everything else, we all have brains, we all need help preventing neurodegeneration if we want to extend our healthy lifespans. So we look at this as a moonshot. The brain space is broad. It affects lots of people, hundreds of billions if you're looking actually at from a disease standpoint. Hundreds of millions. It impacts everybody if you're looking at it just from a brain health standpoint. But we're looking at dementias and neurodegeneration. We're looking at traumatic brain injury, which causes some other issues that could lead to dementias. And the mental health wellness comes into play here too. When you look at brain health broadly, dealing with stress, dealing with focus, dealing with relationships and engagement, dealing with learning new things are all important things that can help reduce the epidemic that we have on the mental health side. My framework for this, we're a bio-DAO and we're very much bought into the molecule bio XYZ ecosystem and IP, NFT, and IP token frameworks. I created this model of what an impact DAO would be just because, like I discussed earlier with the brain health space has a lot of funding, so there are a lot of institutions out there that fund. So my question was, why wasn't this working? And I looked at venture philanthropies, and venture philanthropies are very interesting because they're nonprofit foundations, but they invest for gains and they regenerate their capital. So when they generate gains, they grow their treasury and they can invest more. So it sounds a lot like a bio-DAO. The problem is, you donate money, so you're passive as a participant in that community, and the bureaucracy of the venture philanthropy actually allocates the capital and develops the portfolio. And so having talked with a lot of them, they tend to be very risk averse as well. And so they're better than NIH funding, but they're still not looking more broadly at the space and don't have the flexibility. And they also tend to be restricted to their tax jurisdiction, so they're not global. Impact funds are good too, but impact funds, I can tell you, from experience on this, that people are investing in impact funds for returns. The impact's a secondary outcome, and they're very, very much operating like an investment fund, so they got to stick to their investment thesis and their time horizons and make decisions with that. So I looked at an impact DAO or a bio-DAO as kind of the overlap of the two of those, but we're global, we're participatory, so we can engage a community. We can do it on a global basis. With the crypto assets, we got a global currency, and we've got incentive mechanisms with tokens to really engage and reward a global community if you can attract them, incentivize them, and empower them. And so it looks like the best of both of these, but really puts the agency in the hands of the people that care about the mission, which is brain health, and for us. So I think these are powerful models. I think they're going to be disruptive forces, and I think they're going to be orders of magnitude bigger than either the impact funds or the venture philanthropies today. And they're outcome driven because they're driven by the community of people that want the outcomes, and they can force that. So when you have a power of community behind you, you can make a lot of change happen. I also like these because they're regenerative. So we look at this, we sell tokens to people that want to participate in governance. We're looking at ways to provide utility into those tokens as well for brain health benefits. And we allocate the capital to impact investments, which could be in equity investments, which we've made one already. And we also allocate it to funding research that we intend to translate and commercialize in the market. But when we have gains, whether it's through the sale of company or the licensing of an asset or the formation of a company from an asset and the sale of it, the money comes back into our treasury and it grows. So there's an exponential effect that we think we can create with a flywheel here. We did make one investment so far, so we did a private pre-sale of tokens, so we've got a little bit of a treasury. We want to do 3 things with that. We're standing up the DAO, building our community right now, and we want to allocate it to 2 projects. We did one, which was an equity investment in active pharmaceuticals, spin out of Harvard and Mass General from Dr. Rudy Tanzi. They've got a small molecule that attacks amyloid. And it appears to be safe and efficacious, so you can take it on an extended period of time. And unlike the current FDA-approved drugs, and we're hoping that molecule can hit the amyloid early before the tau and the neuroinflammation comes, and we do think that that's an effective hypothesis for Alzheimer's. More interestingly than that, he has developed in his lab over a decade an organoid model that represents neurodegeneration in a lab dish. And so amyloid, tau tangles, and neuroinflammation. And it can be represented in about 6 weeks time frame. So he's done combination therapies. He's looked at combinations of approved drugs and natural products and run thousands of them against this pathology and has a hit on a couple hundred of those and really high probability odds on at least a dozen that are going to be going into trials. And so we will look to partner with them on those candidates and see if there might be a way to use IP tokens in collaboration with a biotech firm to take those to market. We're recruiting, so the way we're structured with the DAO, we have 3 working groups, the Operation and Coordination Group, Community and Awareness, and our Neuroscience Deal Flow. Within those groups we have squads, and we're building our community now. So we do weekly onboarding calls every Tuesday. You can find those in our Discord. And we've been welcoming new members, building those groups. We're kicking off our neuroscience strategy this Friday, or next Friday. From there, we will be scouting deals. The second deal we're looking to do is we want to fund a research project, and we want to do that with an IP NFT. And so part of the neuroscience strategy kickoff is going to be laying down our strategy, picking our strategy areas, and going proactively out to source deal flow. And we have a few candidates already in the pipeline, but we're looking for many more, and we're definitely looking for people across the board. DAOs are diverse skill sets. You don't need to be a neuroscientist or any experience in biology. If you can contribute in one of these areas and care about brain health and want to learn about it, we welcome you. I have no neuroscience background whatsoever, so we'd love to have you come join our mission. The QR code will take you to our link tree where all of our relevant links and social posts are. We will do a token sale in the future of our governance token, so you can sign up on our website to a wait list if you're interested in that as well. Thanks.